And to give you an idea, if you were to, the I word, everybody know what the I word is that we don't mention? Imprint. The imprint I word. If you were to happen to do such a thing, if you were to use water to do it, you can put the I word in there, okay? How good is it going to be? Can you succuss it? Can you make it better? Can you do other things? Can you go through inspection with a little bottle of it through the airport? Will it hold on to anything that's in there? Nah, probably not. But if you have something that has a mineral foundation in it, it will hold it. It's succussible. And with what we've done with the water, along with the minerals that are being hit electrically, if you could do a muscle test on this or any kind of test you want, if 10 was the highest for good and 0 was the worst for bad, we find these things to be 300 million on 10. Does it have any energy in it? You better believe it has energy in it. I've handed these to people who are extremely sensitive to energy, and they go, whoa, what have you got in there? That is just amazing. Nick is one of those energy guys that touches my stuff, and he goes, holy cow, what have you got in there? Is that true?
Great job. It really is.
Dr. Cowden mentioned the other day, and I'll take your question in a moment. Dr. Cowden mentioned the other day that if you're going to do that eye thing with any of your stuff, that you want to make sure it's going into something that can be validated. So if a patient goes off for some other illness, goes off somewhere else, and they say, well, what are you taking? And they hold this up and they read it. It's an FDA compliant label, made in a GMP facility, and it's a mineral. It says mineral formulation. That's all it is. But it is a legally produced item. It is a item that you could use for whatever purpose you want. But you get 3 of those for free for every kit that you get as a special. They will be shipped to you in about 3 weeks. The shipping is for free. The order forms are going around right now if you'd like to order any of this. And you can turn those order forms in to John, Tricia, Susan at the Bionativus booth. And they will safeguard any credit card information and so forth and so on. And you can ask them about how they go about doing that. Yes, ma'am. Very good question. And the question was, what are the uses for the acid and alkaline minerals? If a person is typically hypersympathetic, they go, da, 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 they're typically more acid than they are alkaline. However, what you want to do is, that's not always the case. If you muscle test in your office, you could actually use an acid and alkaline one of these as a tester to see truly what they are. You could also, when we give you the library for testing for acid and alkaline, you could do it that way. But not all sympathetic dominant people, even though they are acid, they have some need for a missing acid, and that's why they can't rebalance back to alkaline, because they can't set. Remember, I said you take an acid, your body puts out an alkaline. You take an alkaline, your body puts out an acid. So, you know, they buffer acids with acids and sodas. They put a phosphoric acid in there, then they put a citric acid in there to buffer the acid. So it's not just a slam dunk that everybody that has sympathetic dominance is going to need an alkaline. And most people who, yes, we all want to be a little bit more alkaline, but most of us are alkaline imbalanced. We're out of balance in terms of alkaline. We need acid. And thus far, what I've been finding on the reticular activating system is most people that need help with that, they need the acid one, because the acid minerals, according to that little chart that I showed you up there, was manganese and iron is the most important thing in your body in terms of electronics. But too much iron has been known to be correlated with cancer. Okay? And iron is an acid nutrient. So that's why I'm saying if you do a balance of things, foundation minerals are a balance. And then you check out where people are with the other, acid or alkaline. You do some tests on it with the Zyto, do some tests on it muscle testing wise, or whatever technology you use that might validate things. You can also, if you do a blood, saliva, and urine test to see what the pH is of those 3 guys, it's nearly impossible to arrive at an appropriate pH by checking urine and saliva. It's practically impossible. You've got to have blood in the mix. And there's technologies to do that. She had a question early on, and then I'll come to you. 5 bottles are the same. And the reason is because it takes time to repair the problem. Forever, maybe not. Because if you're going to change their diet, which I think all of us here change our patients' diet, because patients don't know, I've got a really good diet. I eat well. What do you eat? Well, I've actually had a Brussels sprout. I have this. They don't know what a good diet is. And they come in, you ask them about their health, they say, well, I'm generally healthy. Oh, but they have ordinary headaches and common diarrhea. There's nothing healthy about that. Yes, ma'am. Well, you start by getting them to go to organic markets. You start by getting them, if they're in the climate, to grow their own stuff. Buy from co-ops. Buy locally. That's the best way to begin. Make sure they're going someplace where the food's not new. All this waste? I have a whole, if you go on and do a thing for YouTube for me, you're going to find a lecture that I did in New York for a bunch of mothers of autistic kids. And I talk about something called the manure factor. And that is, this farmer has this big bunch of animals that produce a lot of manure. And he doesn't know what to do with it. And one day he gets a bright idea. He sticks it in the front yard and sticks a sign that says fertilizer for sale. And there it's all gone. Well, the nuclear plants take all this nuclear material, and what do they do with it? They sell it to people that are going to irradiate your food. What happens with fluoride? Where does it come from? Bauxite. It comes from aluminum mining. Except that somebody sold a bill of goods to the dental people, who sold a bill of goods to the government, that we need to have fluoride in there to help our teeth, no matter what it does for hip joints and hip replacement and hip fractures and everything else. Where they put that in the water, people have more hip fractures. So the manure factor is, you got to be very careful about stuff that shows up that comes from waste material from somewhere else. So if you educate your patient and start saying, here are some options. I mean, how many times have we started telling a patient, oat, wheat, rye, and barley, don't eat it. Dairy, don't eat it. They go, well, what is there to eat? Anything that's not oat, wheat, rye, and barley, and dairy. And they go, well, that's funny, doc, but what do I eat? Anything that's not oat, wheat, rye. People get programmed, they're filled with mucus, and then they wonder why they're dehydrated. Their heads are working overtime, creating acid. The body's response to acid basically makes mucus. Body's trying to protect itself. You ever taken an egg white, poured water on it? What's it do? It rolls off. That's why they drink a bottle of water, they pee a bottle of water. And because they have so much mucus in them. Remember when we were in the first grade, they had this big white bucket full of wheat paste in there? It was gluten. That's what it is. And then what do? You add mucus from lactating mammals. I stole that from the coneheads 1,000 years ago. But that's what it is. Tell your patient, oh, you like dairy? You know what it is? It's mucus from lactating mammals. They'll never touch this stuff again. I'm sorry. This young lady had a question. Yes, absolutely. CUAUAG, according to the German guys, it's really for an energia. It is no energy. You find a lot of people in your area are totally, completely fatigued. Anybody familiar with that book, The Real Trace Element Problem? It's blue. You can't miss it, but you can't find it anymore, unfortunately. CUAUAG is for energy, and these people have no energy. So you can buy formulations of CUAUAG, but if you go back to that little chart that was up here, what you're going to see is you're going to see copper, gold, and silver on it. If you've got them, if somebody else has been giving them that sort of stuff to take, you definitely want to be doing the foundation minerals. There's just no two ways about it. You have to. If you don't and you saw this, you need to talk to me afterwards, because you need to be my patient. Yes, Nick. Foundations in this are different in terms of percentages. Okay? Because you can't take foundation minerals under your tongue. How we built this thing to work is we built it to do 3 droppers a day in 1, 2, 3. Are a lot of people drink 1.5 liters? Put all 3 droppers in 1.5 liters. If they drink it this size, put in 1 dropper, 1 dropper, 1 dropper. That's simple. 5 bottles in there, 25 days. Even our totally brain dead patients can figure that out. The other one is actually a different concentration than this one. So basically what they do is you can dose that one. You can figure that one out, how many droppers they get under their tongue. It's it's half as strong as this guy. Okay? This is the foundation minerals, and half the strength of it is the one that we're giving you free with the order. Yeah, and it's called Program Minerals. Pretty sure that's the final name we landed on, John. Program Minerals. There's Program Minerals that are the Program Minerals. Yeah, thank you. Then that is the name. Nick approved it. And I second that.
You know what you do, Toby, why don't you walk them through a little bit for those who may want to do something with that I word you're saying. Do you have time for that with them?
Yeah, let me answer her question. She's asked a question about iodine. Let me tell you something about iodine that you want to be careful with. If you're hypo and you're taking iodine, you're going to become hyper. You continue to take iodine and you're going to become hypo. You give iodine randomly if you have to give iodine. You pulse it. You give it, you don't give it. You give it, you don't give it. If you're eating seaweed, you can eat it. But if you're giving iodine, you don't want to give them the same amount every day.
What about if it's on the skin versus taking it in?
Same thing. It's going to go hypo, hyper, hypo, hyper, hypo, hyper. Yes, ma'am.
The other question.
Oh, sorry. Second question.
You were looking for Swiss chard.
Swiss chard. Oh, cool. You can leave the lid on it. I'm not going to eat it. I wouldn't want to take your lunch.
It's good.
Hey, this is good. I'm not allergic to it. This is a rancidity point. This is a CMP point for allergy. You know that, don't you, Dr. Toby? Yeah. CMP for allergy. Also brain allergy. Liver 3 down between your big toe and your next toe. 1 for chemicals. No chemicals in it. This 3 fingers. 3 fingers. No. 3 fingers. Plant right there. That's for mold, yeast, fungus. So, but yeah, I see someone up here doing this with their finger. I'm so sorry about. I for 37 years I've tried to teach my patients, other doctors. I have taught patients. I have taught mothers of autistic kids. I have taught everybody. There's some sort. I have some people, and they said, no, we'd rather call you and have you do it. Christmas Day, I get a call. Hey Doc, this is so and so. I'm down here at the Ralph store, and they've got blue toilet paper and they've got pink toilet paper. Doc, could you muscle test that and get back to me and let me know which one's the best for me? That's no lie. That's how dependent. How many people have dependent patients? Everybody has dependent patients. My dependent patients are willing to give me ungodly amounts of money to figure out the color of their toilet paper. Now, I would think that I have a lot more to offer people in life than to figure out the color of their toilet paper. But some part of me needs their money. I don't know. Maybe it's my landlord. But some part of me, if they want to give me money to check, hey Doc, I know it's Christmas, but I'm down here at the Marriott, and they've got some wonderful shrimp. You ought to bring the missus down. But the reason I called was I have 24/7 free email. I don't take free calls anymore, but I take free email, and I do that. I'm down here at the Marriott, and they have some wonderful shrimp. Bring the missus down. But they've got some very peculiar-looking red sauce. Could you get back to me on the red sauce? Another true story. I tell my patients on the emails, I say, if you email me on Christmas, I will be back in touch with you on Christmas. If you email me on Thanksgiving, I will be back to you on Thanksgiving. If you email me at 2 o'clock in the morning, I will be back to you at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been able to keep that promise to my patients, and I have a few people that abuse it, but for the most part they don't. But I'm willing to answer any weird and unusual question, as you guys can tell. Hey, I love all of you. You've all been phenomenal, and except for a few stragglers who disappeared like Dan, but he came back. Dan came back. I mean, good. But in any event, thank you so much to you.